All right, it's Jacked Up. July 16th, 2024. We normally come at you on the WTOV 9 digital platforms at 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. Moving things up a couple of hours tonight because I wanted a chance to talk about Paul Skenes of the Pittsburgh Pirates before he toes the rubber for the National League in the Major League All-Star Game tonight, which you can watch on Fox 9. Coverage beginning at 7 p.m. It's a big deal. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Skenes in his rookie season with the Pittsburgh Pirates, immediately after being drafted. He was drafted 1 year ago this time, pretty much. He was drafted in 2023, right around this time of the year, the Major League Baseball draft this year ongoing. And in the very next All-Star game, Paul Skenes, the starting pitcher for the National League. Almost threw a no-hitter in his final start of the first half of the regular season. 11 starts into his Pirates tenure. His rookie season, I should say, a 1.9 ERA. And I already believe Paul Skenes belongs on a Pittsburgh Pirates starting pitchers Mount Rushmore. Now, for our older audience, you might be throwing stones, or maybe not stones, but lighter objects that wouldn't affect your screen, whatever you're watching us on right now. But you might be saying, Jack, what the heck are you talking about? And that might just be me being young, being 25 years old, and really excited that this guy is with the Pittsburgh Pirates and just, might be a product of my generation. And I'm going to go ahead and show you that I'm a little bit of an old soul, and hopefully that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the starting pitching history for the Pittsburgh Pirates and why I believe that Paul Skenes already belongs on a Pirates starting pitcher's Mount Rushmore. And if he wins a Cy Young this year, which is a possibility, Jeff Passan of ESPN already on the record saying that if he keeps this up, he should win the Cy Young. And if he does, he's cemented already on a Pirates starting pitcher's Mount Rushmore. There are guys that are on it and maybe even be ahead of him in starting pitching lore of Pittsburgh Pirates. The first guy to me that comes to mind is Bob Friend, the late, great Bob Friend, perhaps the best starting pitcher in the history of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Over 3,000 innings pitched. That's unheard of. He leads the Pirates franchise in career innings pitched. A 3.55 career ERA, and also the Pirates' all-time strikeouts leader as well. Another guy that comes into mind too, Vern Law. I've always thought that the Pirates have had good starting pitching to great starting pitching, but they've never had elite starting pitching, which is why I think Paul Skenes and Jared Jones, if you couple them the right way, could potentially be one of the first times in a very long time the Pirates have had elite starting pitching. You look at those teams of the 70s that won World Series, they were carried by offense and good pitching. Willie Stargell, Roberto Clemente, Dave Parker. The list goes on and on offensively, while the starting pitching has been good and in some cases great. The only time I really think it was ever elite was in 1960 with Vern Law and Bob Friend. Vern Law was the one of two players in Pirates history to win a Cy Young. The other, you could also make a case for being on a Pirates starting pitcher's Mount Rushmore. We'll get to him in a second. The only time ever for the Pirates that they've had a National League MVP and a National League Cy Young winner in the same season. Dick Rote, one of our great family friends, the late, great Dick Rote, National League MVP that year and a batting champion. Vern Law, Cy Young winner. And you think of the 1960 Pirates, you think of Bill Mazeroski's home run in Game 7, the greatest sports moment in Pirates history and maybe even Pittsburgh history. And you think of Roberto Clemente, of course. But neither of those guys are what Vern Law and Dick Rote were, the top of their respective areas of play that year. So Vern Law is in that conversation as well. Wilbur Cooper. And I have a hard time, if you know me, I have a hard time really taking anything seriously as far as baseball goes pre-World War II, because it was just a completely different game. But you look at Wilbur Cooper, a 2.74 career ERA with the Pirates in the teens and the 20s. 13 seasons with the Pirates. He's the all-time wins leader. And back then, pitching wins meant something because there was really no such thing as relief pitchers. Guys would blow their arms up and pitch all 9 innings. And in a case, Bob Friend was a part of that era as well. Over 3,000 innings in his career, 3,400 to be exact. That probably will never be done again. John Candelaria, can't forget about that guy. A 3.17 ERA in 12 seasons with the Pirates, over 1,100 strikeouts, 4th in franchise history. So here's me on the soapbox, appreciative and recognizing the great starting pitching and elite starting pitching the Pirates have had in years past. Doug Drabeck's another one, 1990 Cy Young winner. In April of 2024, before Paul Skenes made his major league debut, my starting pitching Mount Rushmore for the Pirates would probably be John Candelaria, Vern Law, Bob Friend, and Doug Drabeck. Wilbur Cooper, I'm sorry. I'm sure you were fantastic, but me, of course, obviously, and probably every single person tuning into this right now was not alive to watch you pitch. So you're not on my Pirates starting pitchers Mount Rushmore, unfortunately. Now I put Paul Skenes on it. After 11 starts, I know that might sound crazy, but the guy is potentially going to go down as the best pitcher in this franchise's history. And a lot has to go right. The Pirates have to win. They have to be willing to hold on to him, and he has to keep this up. But a 1.9 ERA through 11 starts this season. The best one, the latest one, 7 no-hit innings in Milwaukee. That was obviously a big-time debate whether or not he should have stayed in the ballgame. I think he should have, at least for the 8th inning, but we could do a whole other episode talking about that and how pitchers are managed in today's baseball. It's elite stuff, and you take into account what these pitchers are able to do today, what Paul Skenes is able to do, the 100-plus mile-an-hour fastball, being able to locate it in pretty much any way he so chooses, the slider with all kinds of break, and he couples that with a nasty changeup in the splinker, which has become one of the more recognizable things, probably the most recognizable thing about Skenes in his game this year, that mid-90s splitter sinker action kind of pitch that just leaves hitters completely with their head scratching. His stuff, I think, might be the best stuff in Pirates history. That you could make a case for. And he obviously has to keep maybe not so much of this historical trajectory going, but he's got to keep this up, and he's got to live up to that 1-1 expectation. And nothing that I've seen, and if you're a Pirates fan watching this, I don't think anything that you have seen indicates that you should be doubting whether or not this is sustainable for Paul Skenes. He's already being talked about right now, 11 starts in, 21, 22 years old, as the best pitcher in baseball right now. So much so that Torey Lovullo, the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, managing the National League All-Stars tonight on Fox 9, selected him for the All-Star game, called it a no-brainer to be the National League starting pitcher in his press availability with Paul Skenes on Monday. Spoke very highly of Skenes, said that he is everything right about the All-Star game, his youthfulness, his ability, the way he conducts himself. It's high praise from a manager who was just in the World Series a year ago, and he's managing the National League All-Stars. So catch the Major League Baseball All-Star Game tonight on Fox 9, coverage beginning at 7 p.m. The batting order for the American League: Stephen Kwan of the Guardians at the top of the order, Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles, and then, of course, the twin home run threat for the New York Yankees so far this season, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge batting 3rd and 4th. Potentially a situation, and a lot of people are excited about seeing Paul Skenes face Aaron Judge. Should he not go 1-2-3 in the lone inning, Skenes will pitch tonight for the National League. So again, 7 o'clock live on Fox 9. Major League Baseball All-Star break runs through Thursday. The Pirates and pretty much everybody else across baseball back in action on Friday. The Bucks, man, 48-48 after a 3-game sweep of the White Sox before hitting the All-Star break. And it has me encouraged, it has me enticed, it has me ready and fired up to watch and tune into the Pirates in the back half of the regular season. They did what they were supposed to do. How many times have we talked about this team and underachieving and not winning games that it's supposed to? They go play the worst team in baseball in the White Sox, and they sweep them with relative ease. The offense looked great in spurts. Marco Gonzalez, a good start sprinkled in there. They did what they needed to do. Then they got the job done. They're back to 500, right at the Mendoza line. Game and a half out of the wild card of the National League with a big series on Friday at PNC Park, opening up with the Philadelphia Phillies, who are running away with the National League East and are almost running away as National League frontrunners to potentially make the World Series this fall. So it's big time baseball for the Pirates to start the second half of the regular season. And because of the way I saw the Pirates take care of business on the south side of Chicago against the White Sox, I think it's without a doubt now, because of that and the momentum that it's built up to the second half of the regular season, Pirates are going to sell out Friday and Saturday. It's against the Phillies. It's Yinzer Palooza weekend at the ballpark, a Wiz Khalifa bobblehead on Saturday night in the middle game. And they're right in the hunt of it. They're right in the thick of it. They're 48-48. They're a game and a half out of the wild card. And this team and the word playoffs is not out of the question as we talk here on July 16th. So much so that in 2 weeks, 14 days, July 30th, the Major League Baseball trade deadline. And, you know, we've talked about the trade deadline on this show a couple of times and what I think the Pirates should do. It's fun, speculative talk, but it gets closer and closer. So we're going to keep talking about it. And we're going to keep discussing options for the Pirates because they should be buyers. They should be willing to go all in right now. Absolutely. Because guess what? Even if you squeak in as the third and final wild card team in the playoffs and you have to go up against the 3 seed in the National League because right now the Phillies and the Dodgers will probably get buys into the NLDS. That wild card series against the Brewers, even though it's on the road, it's a 3-game series. Best 2 out of 3. Even if they don't add offensively, the Pirates, and they are able to get to that spot and have 3 games potentially against the Brewers, and you throw out Jones, if he's healthy, Skenes, and Keller, ask yourself this question. Do you honestly think that the Pirates lose 2 of those games with those 3 guys heading out onto the mound? I don't. I don't at all. I don't, even with the supporting cast offensively that they have right now, because they just beat the Brewers 2 out of 3 before the All-Star break. But there is still work to be done. There are still moves potentially to be made for the Pirates. And they need to do it and make the Oakland Athletics their best friend. I have one trade that I think gets it done, and it's all the Pirates, I think, need to do this trade deadline. A move for a bullpen arm would be wise as well if they're able to do it without giving up a whole lot farm-wise. But this trade that I have written down here not only improves their offense for a playoff push in 2024, but adds to their core in 2025, 26, 27, to where we as fans have been told this is what we're building up towards. We're going to be competitive again. That's what Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton have been telling us these last couple of years. We're there. We're getting there. This trade, again, not only improves immediately the offense, but adds to the core. Here it is. And I've said this guy's name time and time again on this podcast. From the Oakland Athletics, J.J. Bleday and fellow outfielder / DH Brent Rooker. Get them both. Get them both. A presumptive trade that I saw for JJ Bleday was a major league ready player like Ji-Hwan Bae, who I've thrown out as a potential trade target. The guy's got elite speed, elite potential speed, and has shown glimpses offensively. Still young enough to where I think he could be enticing in a trade because he's got obviously MLB experience as well. And then from a prospect standpoint, left-handed pitcher Michael Kennedy and outfielder Tres Gonzalez. Kennedy, the 13th overall prospect in the Pirates system. Gonzalez, the 25th prospect. These are according to MLB.com in the Pirates system. You give up a guy like Kennedy, he's not the Solometo, Ashcraft, Burroughs, Chandler, A group of starting pitching talent that's in the minor leagues right now. He falls into that second tier. And I've been willing to part with guys in that first tier of starting pitching prospects with Chandler, Solometo, Burroughs, Ashcraft. So if they're able to get this trade done without giving up one of those guys, and this was a trade that I found on one of the Major League Baseball blog sites that they could potentially work for Oakland. Now that's solely for Bleday. If you want to go get a guy like Brent Rooker as well, you're going to have to add a fourth prospect, at least I think. So the guy that I throw in there is the 11th prospect, overall prospect in the Pirates system. That's right-handed pitcher Xander Muth. Only 19 years old. Still in rookie ball, but if you go back and look at what the Pirates got for Josh Bell when they traded him to the Nationals, the centerpiece of that trade was a pitcher named Eddie Yeen, who was like 18 years old at the time and just hasn't really worked out in the Pirates farm system. And that was for Josh Bell, who was elite power at the time. Muth's a guy who's top 15 in the system, 19 years old, big arm. That's enticing to a team like Oakland, who is still trying to rally together a little bit of a rebuild. So you've got 2 top 15 prospects, 3 top 30 prospects, and a major league ready bat in Ji-Hwan Bae for both JJ Bleday and Brent Rooker. I think that gets it done. Now let's talk about them both. Bleday. I wrote in my notes here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because of the webcam, but I wrote maybe a little bit. See the frowny face next to Bleday, 143 in July. Not great right now, but he's shown offensive promise. 230 this season, 732 OPS. Rooker, an all-star in 2023, a 291 batting average this year. He would be the big fish, so to speak, the one that I think the Pirates would be, and Pirates fans would be more excited about adding to their lineup. Guy that would play right in the middle of it today if the Pirates had to play today. Rooker this season, 291, a 21 home runs, a 921 OPS. And even Bleday's 230 is better than Sawinski and Michael A. Taylor, who have played center field for the Pirates this year. Better offensively than either of those guys. I've mentioned that time and time again. Bleday would play in center field. Brent Rooker listed as left field, but he's got experience in right field, and he's also been DHing. Right now, obviously, that's Andrew McCutchen, but you got to think post-McCutchen. If I had to bet on it, I bet he'd be back in 2025, and I think fans, and myself included, would welcome him back next season. But you got to start planning for life after Andrew McCutchen because he obviously is not a spring chicken anymore. And the best thing about this trade, in my eyes, if it's able to get done, both Bleday and Rooker are under major league control for several more years after this. You know, when you talk about guys being acquired at trade deadlines, whether that's the NBA or the NHL, or in this case, Major League Baseball, you hear the term rental. Well, that's because they're only under contract for this year. Jake Gensel, the Penguins traded him to Carolina. He was a rental for the Hurricanes. He now plays for Tampa Bay, or will. He just signed a big deal with the Lightning. Bleday and Rooker are not rentals. JJ Bleday is 26. He's under major league control through 2028. So that's 3 more seasons after this one. Brent Rooker, 29 years old, under major league control through 2027. No, he's 3 years. Come on, Jack, do the math. 4 years for Bleday, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. It helps when you say it out loud. So Bleday's under control for 4 years after this one. Rooker for 3. Brian Reynolds is also under control for that long, even more because of his deal that he just signed. So an outfield potentially next year of Brian Reynolds, JJ Bleday, and Brent Rooker. And you sprinkle in maybe Jack Sawinski if you want to give him a chance. And Connor Joe when he's hitting like we've seen him be able to hit and when he's not platooning at first base with whatever first baseman the Pirates decide to throw out there. Reynolds, Bleday, Rooker. An outfield that you can build upon, that fans will know be there, that maybe one might go through a slump, but the other one might be hitting really well, and all three of them might be clicking at the same time, and they've got power, they've got athleticism, they've got above average to very good defense amongst all three of those guys. We've seen it out of Brian Reynolds from time and time again. And Bleday, while he might not be the elite defender that Michael A. Taylor is, he's obviously certainly better offensively. And he's a better defender out there than Jack Sawinski, if you ask me. And Rooker, a vet, a former All-Star, 21 home runs. That bat plays 4th in the Pirates lineup right now. Bleday, maybe 6th, but that's an upgrade over Sawinski and Taylor. And you throw that in there with Brian Reynolds, and you throw that in there with O'Neal Cruz, and with what Rowdy Tellez has been able to do in June and into some portions of July, and what Key Brian Hayes did. Hopefully that guy can get going. Key Brian Hayes, multi-hit games against the White Sox, and all 3 of them before the All-Star break. If he can use that as positive momentum and positive juju for the second half of the season and start hitting the ball like we've seen Key Brian Hayes be able to do, doesn't it just fire you up to talk about it? Doesn't it just get you going as a Pirates fan to think that those guys, coupled with what the starting pitching has been and we have seen for the Pirates this season? The answer is yes. So there you have it. That's my Pirates trade. And if it's the only one they make, I am doing laps, taking my shirt off, wheeling it around like this, fired up and ready to go. JJ Bleday and Brent Rooker from the Oakland Athletics for Michael Kennedy, 13th prospect in the Pirate system, left-handed pitcher. Xander Muth, right-handed pitcher, 19-year-old, 11th overall prospect in the Pirate system, according to MLB.com. Outfielder Trez Gonzalez, 25th prospect, according to MLB.com. And Major League ready in middle infielder and outfielder. We've seen him play center field, G. Wanbei. All right. Before we wrap it up, we're going to be covering this on this show and on our airwaves in grave detail over the next couple of weeks. 1 week from tomorrow, July 24th, the Pittsburgh Steelers players and coaches and media report to St. Vincent College in Latrobe for training camp 2024. Practice beginning on Thursday, July 25th, which you, the public, will be able to go to for free, but you got to sign up for tickets online. And change to the practice schedule in years past. The Steelers have practice at 1:55 in the afternoon. Now practices during the week are at 10:30 in the morning. So just a little bit heads up there. And if you can't make it to training camp and you're going to be stuck back here in the Ohio Valley, you can tune into my exclusive training camp reports that will begin on July 24th and will run through August 2nd at 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. on WTOV 9, 10 o'clock on Fox 9, and those will be presented proudly by WVU Medicine Wheeling Hospital. Fired up to be back to Steelers training camp, covering it for WTOV 9 and a couple of our sister stations for the third year now. Hard to believe that we're moving right along in that regard. And it'll be interesting. It'll be a lot of fun as well. So top 3 storylines for me, and this will be very quick before we wrap it up. And as I mentioned, we're going to be talking a lot about the Steelers and training camp on this show and obviously in my reports in the coming weeks. And we will have some exclusive content for you for Jacked Up from training camp, which I'm excited about as well. Top 3 storylines. I'll throw in an honorable mention right off the cuff. The Pittsburgh Steelers need to replace their radio play-by-play voice. My grandpa, Bill Hillgrove, retired after 30 years in the Steelers booth. they still haven't made a decision in that regard. There have been a couple of names floated around out there. Sportsnet Pittsburgh and longtime Pittsburgh sportscaster Rob King, who has filled in for my grandpap at various points for the Steelers within the last 5 years or so. So he's got experience doing it. KDKA, Channel 2 in Pittsburgh, sports director for over 40 years. Play-by-play voice on the preseason games, which if he doesn't get the gig in the radio, he'll be doing the preseason games, which you'll be able to watch on our networks this summer again. Bob Pompiani, his name has been thrown around for the position as well. And a couple of outside candidates, I've been told as well. The Carolina Panthers hired a radio voice in 2022. They made that decision right around May. So the Steelers still need to make a decision on who's going to be calling the games, who's going to be the new voice of the team. As this first preseason game is August 9th, you'll be able to watch it on our networks, as I mentioned. They do radio broadcasts for those too. So somebody's going to be doing the play-by-play for it. Right now, we, the public, we don't know who. Selfishly, I'm going to have to talk to somebody in the Steelers organization. I'm $100 on my birthday from the voice of the team. So I wonder if that isn't the job description for the new guy as well. All that is kidding aside. All right. Top 3 storylines for the Steelers in camp. Number 3, wide receiver 2. I mean, that's a given. Who's going to be? Are they going to go out and get somebody? Brandon Ayuk just requested a trade officially, according to Tom Pelissero and Michael Garafolo, covering the NFL. Brandon Ayuk of the 49ers, his name has been tossed around there as a possible trade target for the Steelers. Sounds like they couldn't get a deal done with him and the 49ers, so he requested a trade to get the heck out of there. Might be a possibility, but if it's not, who on the team could step up? Roman Wilson out of Michigan, who they just drafted. Calvin Austin, who's been in the system. Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, who were just signed and have a little bit of experience with new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. That's a big question mark. Number 2, the contract situations. Cam Hayward's obviously the big one. He's owed an extension. Sat out the first couple of weeks of OTAs and minicamp. Well, not minicamp, OTAs. Because he's heading into the final year of a deal in which you hope, as a Steelers fan, gets extended. I think it will. Najee Harris's 5th-year option was declined by the Steelers. What's his future going to be like with the club? And Pat Freiermuth, 2nd-round pick, doesn't have the ability to earn a 5th-year option. Those only go to first-round choices. He's heading into the final year of his rookie deal, and he has shown ability to be a top-tier tight end in the league. And Arthur Smith and tight ends are peanut butter and jelly, hand in hand, whatever cliche you want to use. Pat Freiermuth might even assume a little bit of the role of wide receiver too, as far as being somebody other than George Pickens to be a threat in the passing game. But he's due for a new deal as well. I'm excited to see how his role could potentially increase in Arthur Smith's offense. That could be a little subplot of Freiermuth's contract storyline. And number 1, the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. I think we all know that. But Justin Fields, outside of Lamar Jackson, is probably the most athletic player in the league at the position of QB. Is he going to be a clipboard holder? Or are there plans to sprinkle him into the offense? This is some of the stuff that we will see when we get to watch practice at St. Vincent. This will be some of the stuff we'll be able to ask Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith about, and Tom Arth, the new quarterbacks coach. We'll be able to ask these guys those questions and hear what they have to say. Like, is Justin Fields just here to hold a clipboard and learn under Russell Wilson and maybe be the starter next year if they don't extend Wilson after this year? Or are you going to throw the guy in red zone situations and get him to run the football, or little play action, bootleg, get him out in space kind of deal? I'm excited to see what Fields could bring to the Steelers immediately, throwing aside all of the future talk with him potentially being a guy that the Steelers could rely on at quarterback in the future. So those are my top 3 Steelers training camp storylines heading into next week at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, PA. We'll be there. News 9, myself and videographer will be there for all the action for the first 2 weeks. My exclusive reports begin on July 24th at 6 and 11 on WTOV 9, 10 o'clock on Fox 9, and that is presented by WVU Medicine Wheeling Hospital. As always, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in to Paul Skenes tonight, ladies and gents. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game coverage beginning at 7 o'clock live on Fox 9. Jacked Up coming to you next week. Back to the original time, 8 p.m. on the WTOV 9 YouTube and Facebook pages. We'll talk to you then. Thanks for tuning in.